Hey guys, so the Netflix original film Game Over Man has been released. Now this one stars the stars of Workaholics, which was super popular on Comedy Central. I actually really liked the first couple seasons of Workaholics. I kind of fell off of it for a while, but it's actually a really great show. The stars of that one are now in this Netflix original movie. So we have Adam Devine, who's been blowing up a lot lately. We have Anders Holm and Blake Anderson, who are pretty much unknown for the most part. Blake Anderson's a little bit better known than Anders Holm. But they're really not household names, especially in comparison to Adam Devine, who's really blowing up everywhere right now. But these guys work really well together, and this is their chance at sort of like an action comedy. So it's very different from Workaholics in some ways, but that doesn't necessarily make it a great movie. Now, Game Over Man is essentially the story of these three housekeepers who are at this event at the hotel that they work at, and it sort of gets taken over by hostages, very much in a Die Hard sense, but with that workaholic sort of stoner comedy thrown into it. It's really just an okay movie. I really wouldn't even say it's that great. A lot of it was technically fine. A lot of the shots were just okay. There really wasn't anything spectacular about it. The really thing that stood out, and probably the best thing that I can say about the movie, is having Adam Devine, Anders Holm, and Blake Anderson working together. They work best as a team. I think Adam Devine has sort of branched out and been able to be a little bit more standalone, but overall the three of them together are a lot funnier than each one individually, in my opinion. Now, Game Over Man was also written by the co-stars as well as the director, so it's coming literally from the minds of Workaholics and put onto our Netflix TV screens, cell phones, whatever you may be watching Netflix on. I feel like this movie it tries really hard, and I think that's where it fails the most. It tries to be that super funny slapstick in a lot of ways, very in the veins of Workaholics. It just doesn't convey that great of a story. It's basically Die Hard with comedy. And it's not even that it's good comedy, it's just stupid comedy, things that you don't really want to see or even really care about. So plenty of like salvia jokes, dick jokes, butt jokes, fart jokes, boner jokes, types of things that just don't really connect well with, I think, a lot of people, or at least maybe adults. Maybe it's great for like those teenagers who have never seen Die Hard, but once you watch Die Hard, this movie will just not be the same. It's very self-referential in that way, where it does kind of mention Die Hard every once in a while, or action movies similar to this, but it just doesn't take that extra step and actually makes it interesting again. Die Hard did it 10,000 times better, and I would much rather have watched Die Hard for an hour and 40 minutes, or I don't even know the runtime of Die Hard, than watch Game Over Man. Not to say that this was a bad movie, though. It did have its pros. Again, I think just that team working together was the best this movie really had. Every other side character, the villain, everybody else just was really, really annoying. It's not that I think that it was bad writing, even though I think it could have very well been bad writing. I just feel like that they were so focused on trying to make something that we've seen before, but make it also funny, that it just didn't feel very connected. And I love these guys. I really like Workaholics, but they just don't land here. And that's a really big disappointment, especially for being on such a large platform like Netflix and having that wider audience. Not that Comedy Central doesn't, just you're going to get a much wider audience in Netflix than you probably ever will with Comedy Central. And to be quite honest, I really don't want to bash this movie, but it kind of is asking for it. It's kind of asking for that punch in the face a lot of times, and I just couldn't really stand some of it. I watched it, and I just didn't feel like I was invested. I didn't want to say, yeah, I want to go back and watch it again. It didn't really bring anything new, and I feel like technically the movie just did standard things. It did cliche things in such a standard way that it didn't bring anything new or interesting or funny to the table. And these guys have the potential, I think, to do that as a team, but I think they get so distracted by the drugs and dick jokes that they forget everything else that's actually kind of important. Because Adam Devine has been working pretty well in Pitch Perfect. He had that other Netflix movie that I did a review on, which I can't even remember the name of right now. They can sort of each do their own thing, but I think what threw me off also is that Adam Devine's character is essentially Adam Devine's character from Workaholics. The other two are very much different. Blake Anderson just tries to play this smarter character, and Anders Holm just plays like this super druggy character, where in Workaholics it was kind of the opposite, where Blake Anderson was more the druggy character, and Anders Holm was more like the responsible character. It just didn't really work for me. They tried to flip those roles and it just felt really weird, and that did not feel natural at all. If they would have kept it kind of what their Workaholics vibe was, probably would have been a lot more connecting and actually made a lot more sense because they actually embody those roles a lot better. And as far as the action of this movie is concerned, it's really not that great. There's very little action. Again, it mainly bases itself on the dick and fart jokes type of thing, where they just focus so much on that aspect that they forget that we're trying to do an action scene. And this is an action comedy based around sort of like that stoner mentality, so that's completely understandable, but it just makes for an unenjoyable cinematic sort of experience. Not that this was in cinemas, but film watching experience. It doesn't make it enjoyable. It actually kind of gets to be the point where how much longer do I have left in this movie, because I've seen it before. I've watched Die Hard. I've watched stupid stoner movies, and this is exactly those two things. And I feel like a lot of the things that they try and do in the story make zero sense or have zero connection or things that you just don't care about. And that's really disappointing because I was actually looking forward to this movie, and I feel like it was just not a good movie to watch. It had no point where I was like laughing, and that's kind of a bad thing for a comedy. It had zero stakes. There were no stakes in this movie. The stakes that they tried to make up were mostly in their mind, or again, things we've seen before. And I just didn't feel any sort of reason to be watching the movie other than to have something to watch and something to talk about. But maybe I could be wrong. Maybe people do end up liking this movie. Probably that sort of younger type of movie watcher. I remember like all those stoner movies were hilarious when I was a teenager. Now they're not quite landing so well. And I think in today's more modern society, with all the problems we have in the world and like people being so drama focused or heavy action focused, it just doesn't connect anymore. Action comedies are very much a dying breed, and I think it's kind of hard to really make a good action comedy these days. I could be wrong. Maybe eventually down the road it could come back, but I think in this age of sort of superheroes and nostalgia, bringing back franchises we haven't seen in a while and sort of rebooting them have kind of ruined that. I think they try and blend that, but at the same time, those ones also don't tend to be the most critically accepted. So it's very delicate balance, and this one definitely fails on it. Not to say that I'm going to give this movie an F, but the overall grade that I'm going to have to give Game Over Man, unfortunately, even though I was dying to see it and really wanted it to succeed because I like these guys, unfortunately, the grade that I have to give Game Over Man is a D+. And to be quite honest, I think I'm being pretty generous if you ask me. I think that I was trying to find something in there. There is something in there. Again, those three working together really is the best part of this movie. But other than that, just go watch Die Hard. Enjoy Die Hard, because even that one sometimes has funnier jokes than this one. It's just not really worth the watch, or at least rewatch in my case. If you like these guys, if you like sort of that stoner comedy, if you like action movies that this is going to play to every single cliche that an action movie can have, this probably will be the movie for you. For me, it's just sort of passable. I really don't really want to watch it again. I would much rather watch something that actually has some substance to it as opposed to watching this rehash of something that's been rehashed 1,000 times and trying to add nothing to it but lame jokes that don't really land. But maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it could be the movie for you. I don't know. It just didn't quite land with me. But other than that, those are pretty much my thoughts on Game Over Man. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please feel free to check it out if you have the time or want to watch a stupid movie. This one will definitely suffice if you have a Netflix subscription. It'll get the job done. Decent, sort of decent, not so decent way to kill about an hour and 40 minutes. But those are just my thoughts. Make sure you let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's all I have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.